Long live God Almighty. Long live the baby mine.
One time. So come go to Jenny Bumpire. So come for we are fire. I'm a idea but to you. I'm a idea but to you. Let me free Ghana. The man penny I would cano your friend on the plank numa. Yeah, mini sign up when the Madia number your mama. I send back up baby na mintia. I am in one. Here on the J fan who ye. Yanaraya assassin ye. I have what they did my Mojana Nana here going to her my head. Room in able to say a baby at once. Can I be a baby? I'm in a Say Obiana and then Yana into young physical tones of Fangu from Namufraina, come Nayan to Jomon Camfoya, who say a kind of animal that be so did video some you need DIAGN0SING, Obia baby, and to any greedy, Abrajan Kabiti, baby, and our post to Ibia, and Kobini, Libya, would never when I was so young. Rene Usima Baku and the Priatus and Kutia can answer what call Parliament, Takonako, and I was saying, to me come on power, and Pajan can call about one as a master Bibia, woman, Pango some tower, and yes, I'm not putting power, when I want to try a bank hour. When you mean success, and your banner, your casagua, may you don't be found yet. Muntia, Gana, man, you pan a year. May I'm in India, Gana, may I'm in India. So, no, be a nebio. I'm in India, Gana, may I'm in India.
Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Diaspora Weekly. My name is Jermaine Nkrumah and you're watching Diaspora Network Television. Today's edition is special in that for the first time since we've started this show almost 2 years ago, all the interview subjects have been members of the diaspora. For the first time, we are making an exception. And for good reasons. And when you eventually meet my guests, you will get to understand why we made that exception for today's episode. But before you get to meet my guests, as usual, you get to hear the jangle. So please stay tuned for the jangle. In today's jangle, it will be more of a provision of vital information. In dealing with a lot of diasporan issues, this keeps popping up. You hear people saying, I'm coming to apply for dual citizenship. I need my dual citizenship. Look, let me put this to rest right now. And I can authoritatively say this because I went through the process. On one of my trips, I overstayed my visa for a few days, perhaps a week. On my way out of Ghana, I was surcharged. I believe it was $100 or something like that. And so I vowed to obtain my Ghanaian passport. So on my next trip to Ghana, I went to the Ministry of Interior. This is a true story. I asked them that I want to apply for dual citizenship, and they sold me the form along with all the requirements. I went home, filled out the form, gathered all my documents. I think there was a time separation of maybe 2 months or so between when I purchased the form and when I came to submit the form. When I submitted the form, at the Ministry of Interior here in Ghana, they themselves told me, Mister, you don't need to apply for dual citizenship any longer. It is not a requirement unless you want to do it. If you want to do it and pay us the money, we'll gladly take it. But as a result of a ruling from the Supreme Court in, I believe, Asare versus Attorney General, which Asare mean Professor, the famous Kweku Azar, had taken the matter to Supreme Court, and there had been a ruling that Once you are a Ghanaian national, this is important. If you're a diaspora and you're listening, please pay attention. Once you are a Ghanaian national, your citizenship can never be taken away from you, even if you've acquired another citizenship. And so by virtue of you being a Ghanaian national, and who's a Ghanaian national? One of your bloodlines is from Ghana. So if your grandmother is a Ghanaian, it makes you a Ghanaian, and with your birth certificate proving that so, you should be able to, with that birth certificate, walk to the passport office and obtain your Ghanaian passport. You do not need the dual citizenship. So that's the fact. This is not hearsay. This is my personal experience. And it was told to me at the Ministry of Interior. So if there's any doubt about whether you need dual citizenship or not, let's put that to rest right now. If you want to do it because, hey, you're still not clear about it, fine. You go there, they will take your money. But take it from me. As a personal experience, you do not need it. And as a result of them telling me that I did not submit my form, I used my Ghanaian birth certificate, went to the passport office, and obtained my my Ghanaian passport. So for today's Django, I just wanted to provide this clarification because I know it's going to be important for a lot of you out there. So for today, that's the Django. Stay tuned. We'll come back and you meet my amazing guests.
As the national regulator of the communications industry in Ghana, the National Communications Authority seeks to ensure an environment that is safe and fair for consumers and service providers. NCA grants licenses and authorizations for operation of communication systems and services, develops guidelines to streamline communication activities, establish and monitor quality of service indicators for operators and service providers. NCA is in 8 regions: Accra, Tamale, Takoradi, Kumasi, Ho, Koforidua, Sunyani, and Bolgatanga. Do you have unresolved complaints with your service providers? Contact us on 0800110662, 0307011419 between the hours of 8 o'clock a.m. and 5 o'clock p.m. from Monday to Friday, or visit our website at www.nca.org.gh and follow the procedure for filing a complaint or submitting enquiry. National Communications Authority, Communications for Development.
Welcome back. This is a special edition of Diaspora Weekly because for the first time, my interview subject is not a member of the diaspora. In fact, the only time he set foot outside the borders of Ghana was when he went on a peace mission to Liberia for a brief period and he came home. But why is he sitting here? Because professionally, he exemplifies what professionalism should be in Ghana. And we brought him here as a result of something amazing that he did. So I want you to help me welcome Dr. Bernard Opoku-Miracle. Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Very good, very good, very good. And we're observing. If you notice that he is a little farther from me than my usual guest, is because we are observing I wanted you to take a good look at him without his mask on, so that when you meet him somewhere in a mall or anywhere, thank him, because this doctor has done an amazing job. Why is he here? Let me provide you with a background. I interviewed Dr. Tilly Efe Bracco, who is the wife of legendary musician Ben Bracco. She was COVID positive and went to one hospital. Her experience was horrible, in her words. And someone who works at 37 volunteered, said, oh, have her brought to 37. And they took her to 37 Military Hospital. And the experience was night and day because of this doctor. So welcome again.
Thank you,
Today,
sir.
I want to give you the time to tell us about yourself. Let's start with, who is Dr. Bernard Opoku-Miracle?
Thank you. Good morning, and good morning to your viewers. Dr. Opoku-Miracle Bernard comes from Kwewa Sakraka.
Okay.
Parent, the late Mr. Kwame Anani.
Okay.
And then mom still alive, Monica Frimpoma.
Okay.
She's still in Kwewa now. Basic school at Kwewa Sakraka, went to St. Paul Senior Secondary.
Okay.
Did agriculture, science.
Did agriculture.
But when I was in primary school, we acted a play. I was a doctor in the play. And everybody in the community called me doctor, doctor, doctor. But secondary school, find myself in the agri class, and I thought all was lost.
Okay.
So I gave up on it. But interestingly, one of the days, my school teacher in the secondary school read the papers that they were recruiting young men into the military. So I should go and give it a trial.
Okay.
I wasn't so much interested because few uncles have been in there and the outcomes weren't too good.
Before we even get to the military, there's something funny you say. You say you were in a play and you played the doctor.
Yes.
That was a school play.
That was a school play.
Okay, because I know when we were young, these kids, they wouldn't know about it, but when we play in the neighborhood, we play doctors and nurses, and at that time we were too young to know anything, but you were smooching your nurse or something. That's not the kind of play that you had, was it?
It was a school play.
But did you do doctor and nurses in the neighborhood at night and things like that?
Oh, no.
Are you sure?
No.
You look like a good boy, so I'll let you pass.
No. So,
okay,
then the older guys in the community calls you the doctor.
Okay.
Well, those times, I wasn't too much into that. They call you doctor and you're happy, you walk off and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So growing up, well, at the point I said, okay, then a doctor.
Yeah. So
then,
you had it at the back of your mind.
Yes.
So then why did you read agriculture in school?
So that is what society could afford. My mom, a single parent at the time, with little support.
Okay.
I'd wanted to go to St. Peter's, but I mean, funds weren't there.
Okay.
I went to Impriso Secondary, but along the line, business wasn't good. I have to walk from Asakraka to Impriso most of the days. And then eventually I stopped. I stopped secondary school.
Oh.
Yes, came back to Katamatu to sell foods. Yeah.
Came back to Katamatu?
Yes.
To sell?
Foods.
Wow.
Yes.
Foods meaning second-hand clothing?
Second-hand clothing,
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So one uncle, Saki, I don't think, he told me that no, I have to come back to Asakraka, at least there is St. Paul's. Because when the school was established, he was to go there, and because it was in his town, he didn't want it. And that is how he ended the way he was. And then I had a friend to Mr. Promise. He said, oh, come, do the agric. If you've complete school and you don't want the agric, you can do NOVDEC. And then change.
What's NOVDEC?
November, December.
Oh, okay.
Sort of a thing.
Wow,
so
okay.
you can, with agric, you don't want it, but whatever program you want to read, you can now go register and sit for.
Okay.
So Michael tells me that don't mind where you are, but mind what you want.
So not where you are, but where you're going.
Yes.
This is pretty important stuff, because when I'm starting to wonder your demeanor right now and your professionalism, which we will get to later. It's not something that just started. It's clearly been with you from childhood.
Yes.
So how come people didn't notice it at the time? Or is it a case of people noticing it, but just the funds weren't there?
No, I believe that God has a way of dealing with everybody.
Okay.
And one of my bosses, Brigadier Wizi, always tell me that your pathway is different. There's a way to get to a place, but each of us would have a different way of getting there.
Okay.
So my pathway was different.
Okay.
People might notice it.
Yeah.
But I mean, in God's will, he didn't want anybody to be of help to me at the time, because it might have
charted you in a different direction.
Yes.
So how did you get in the military?
So in fact, secondary school, to get registered was a trouble. But some way, somehow, somebody came in and paid almost 3 years of my school fees.
Out of the blue?
Yes, I was owing the school. So somebody came, paid all.
Did you know the person?
Up to now, no.
Really? Wait, somebody paid your fees?
Yes.
3 years worth of fees at a
Yes.
time. But at that time, this current free SHS was not
Wasn't
there.
Yes.
So you had to pay, and you were owing. And someone to whom you, up to today, you've never known, paid it off.
So the person who went through the chief of Kowa Sakraka, Nana Sumamre Kunyampong,
Okay.
and then told him, he said, I'm a good person, I'm a good boy, I do well in school, so he want to help me. Then the headmaster said, well, you can pay the registration fee, but until the school fees is cleared, he's not going to register me. So they have to, pay the school fees and pay the registration fee.
At the time, how much do you think it was?
So my registration was 170 Ghana cedis. I think 1 cedi 70 pesos now.
Okay.
And then at the time, the school fees was, I can't remember. Yeah. But at the time, you could buy 3 vehicles, Tico. Those times were the times of
really?
Tico. Yeah, you could have purchased 3 of them. So, in fact, some of my friends were saying that, well, if you get the money,
you could have started
just buy 3 of them and then invest.
Yeah.
That would rather be helpful.
Yeah.
But
somebody God knew where he wanted to take you.
Somebody paid, and the chief never told who the person was.
Right. And you went, so that's what gave you the catapult to start, so particularly the military, where transition is from agric to military. How did that happen?
So something happened, SSCE. Strangely, I failed the English language.
Okay.
My plan was to go to teacher training because I love teaching.
Okay.
And I failed, so I have to sit home. And that was when the opportunity to go into the military came up. So, and fortunately for me, that was the time they were doing the regional block. So you don't have to come to Accra, Ewak to face the city boys.
Okay.
So Koforidia
face the city boys.
Yeah, face the city boys.
What's wrong with the city boys?
They always make you feel inferior.
Okay.
So Koforidia, I met some few friends there. Unfortunately for me, the last day when they were calling those who have passed, the first time they called those who have passed first, and then those who have failed were sent home. But the last day it was opposite. So we, those who were going home, were called first.
Whoa.
So like, hey, what's happening? Then I was happy. Then finally I was told that, no, sorry, you have to try next time.
Oh, wow.
Wow. What am I going to do? Tell friends, somebody gave me transport every day in and out.
Yeah.
And our dreams shattered. So I was going to pick car to my village. Then something said, no, go back and ask them why you failed. And strangely, when I went there, I said, no, you've not failed, you've passed. So join the queue.
Interesting.
Yes.
So in your life, you've had some pretty strange things happen to you.
Strange.
Does the phrase, when one door is closed, another one is open, does that mean anything to you?
It's not just one. He used million, but I would say trillions or more will open.
Yes.
And it made me believe in destiny. If God destined you to get there, you have to, work hard not to get there. But
if you had passed the exam, you probably would be a teacher.
Yes.
Interesting.
But God says, no, I have to block that door and then open a million or trillion ones.
Interesting.
Ahead.
So life at the military.
So I got in there with the hope of going to do nursing.
Okay.
Then grades were okay. But the mere fact of being an Greek student means that you can't do nursing, because at the time the council were not accepting a Greek student to do nursing. Wow. I cursed myself, I cursed God, I cursed my parent, I cursed my family, because I felt all has ended.
Yeah.
In school, from church to help my mom. So don't broadcast to go and help my mom, go to school, back to church and all that. So why should God
sometimes you feel like that.
And I have families who could have helped me and all that.
Yeah.
So why me? Then I said, oh, no church again. I'm going to live my usual life. Then we did basic nursing, qualifying me to become an enrolled nurse. posted to a department.
Wait, if they said agric students cannot be nursing, how did you get to do basic nursing?
So it's on the job train. They give you.
Oh, okay, so it's part of it.
Yes.
So it's not something like they were
auxiliary, sort of an auxiliary nurse.
Okay, good.
Yes. So posted to a department, the eye clinic. Then I met this officer, an ophthalmologist, and then he now retired at the rank of a brigadier general. The first time it was brutal, questions upon questions, and I wouldn't go. In fact, I was sent from a ward to send a patient to him. So I went and said, you have a patient at the ward to come and review. He was a colonel then. And he asked me, what is the state of the patient? And I said, I don't know. He said, please go and let a proper person come. I felt so bad. I said, wow. Then I went to the ward. The sister said, oh, we are two. And I can't leave the ward under your care. So tell him the patient is not mobile.
Okay.
So he should come. The man will not listen to me. And I stood on him until finally, close to 30 minutes or more, he raised his head and said, young man, go, I will come. Not knowing when he raised his head, he was just taking a note of me. So one time I met him, he shouted, young man, how are you? And I said, fine, sir. I couldn't even make him up because he was in Mufti at the time. Then I noticed he was the man I met at the eye clinic. So finally I was posted to his unit. And all he tells me is that, please, you need to go to school, you need to go to school, you need to go to school. Then we're made to select department we want to go. And I said, oh, these people are saying I should go to school, I should go to school. Then let me go there. There, fortunately for me, we have a NOVDEC program at Military Academy. Soldiers who want to better their grades go there, write entrance exam, and if you pass, you are enrolled for 10 months, you write, the military will register you, give you free tuition and co.
Okay.
So I passed that one. Then he said, okay, go. He gave me money, a check of 750,000 at the time.
At the time. And he said right now.
About twice or 3 times my salary at the time.
Okay.
Then few officers.
But that's the old cities.
That's the old cities.
Okay, which is equivalent to what now?
75.
75 cities.
Cities now.
By that time it was big money.
Big money.
Interesting.
So
he gave it out of his pocket to you.
A check to go to the bank and cash it out.
And do what with it?
And go and buy books and go and study.
Interesting. The same person who blew you off the first time.
Yes.
Interesting. So there's something that people see. What do you describe yourself? What do people see that it seems to engender them to bring, just help you out?
So
what do you think that is?
I think one is grace. If God's grace is on you, you always have that favor. And I don't say no.
Okay.
You ask me, even if they've sent me and you ask me to do something, I'll stop and then fix you. And at the time at 37, I was serving several officers.
Okay.
Shining boot for them, ironing their uniform and all that. A whole lot.
So it's interesting you mentioned 37 because that's where we're coming next. You came, how did you get to 37?
So after the recruit training, we're posted to 37. That is when I started the nursing, the basic nursing. I met the brigadier and all that. So right from the training center, we're sent to military hospital as potential nurses. But unfortunately, I couldn't do the diploma nursing. I have to do the auxiliary nursing. So
for someone who couldn't have been qualified to become a nurse, you rather became a doctor. How did that happen?
So I wrote the NOVDEC, it went well. Then I applied to University of Cape Coast for human biology, which would usually lead you to medicine. Okay. Then we got there and it was like, no, forms have been sold already for those who want to do medicine. Then dreams were shattered. Again. So I went through the normal BSc biology, human biology at the time. Then right after school, the man calls me. There's a publication in the Daily News. Check it. Buy the form and let's see. I said, I mean, it's time wasting. I want to marry, have children and all that. So throw it
all
away.
This time, your dad, I know you mentioned that your dad is no longer. When did you lose your father? At what age?
2007.
7, okay.
Yes.
So all this time your father was still around, but of course there was no me.
Yeah,
so all these other people that you met in a professional environment, they helped you.
me.
Very good. So how did you get to the University of Ghana Medical School?
So right after that, he called me I should apply. So I went to an officer and lied to him that, sorry for lying at the time, that my mom was on admission, I did cash and all that. Because from the University of...
If you're judging because somebody lied, don't judge. We've all done it before. If you're watching and you go, oh, he lied. Well, remember what the Bible says about cast the first stone to the woman, right? Isn't that what it says?
Yes.
We've all told a little bit of those.
So I think it's worth mentioning his name. He was then a Captain Brown.
Okay.
He was a pay officer. So from his pocket, he gave me the money that please do well and come and pay back.
Look at that.
I said, yes, sir. Then quickly, I went, organized the forms and filled, went for entrance exam, about 150 candidates, all graduate, first class and the like, second class upper. And we went through. At the end of the exam, 62 of us passed. And then the interview, picked 50 of us. So it was when the results came from the interview that I've passed to go to the medical school, then I understood why all these breaks
were coming your way.
Were coming my way, and I knew it was the plan of God. So I went on my knees and said sorry.
Yeah.
God, I didn't know I was so stupid at the time, but this is a reality.
That's good. So before we're gonna go on a quick break, but before we go, one quick thing I want you to say clearly, from your history of not passing the English and Greek and all that, it doesn't appear to me that you're this sizzling student. But it looks like you've gone through a process where sheer grit and hard work got you in a medical school. What would you attribute your passing of the medical school to? Is it, taking into consideration the fact that even when you were in high school, you couldn't pass the English and you had to go sell secondhand clothes. And what happened to you during that process to get you to pass the medical school application?
So, my wife was a girlfriend at the time, and in fact at the point I gave up, but he said she had a dream that there was one soldier among the group who had made it, so I will pass. But strangely, the things were too simple, as if I was just getting it too easy.
Yeah, that's what tells me that in spite of all these challenges, God wanted to place you at a position to do good things.
Yeah.
And so we're going to go on a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the good things, the monumental thing. And in fact, to me, I'll say monumental because, look, here's someone doing what he is supposed to do casually, and look at what it has brought. So this Diaspora Weekly, my name is Jermaine Nkrumah. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
It's a new season. 3 ladies, intriguing conversations from 3 different perspectives.
How many months does it take to pass even a bill? And everybody keeps saying, we'll get back to you.
Traffic everywhere, wasting people's time.
When are you getting back to us?
Time is money.
Energy. Wow.
It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Only on DNT.
Hello and welcome back. This is Diaspora Weekly. My name is Jermaine Nkrumah, and today I'm joined by the first ever non-diaspora to be on this show. And we're going to get into the meat of why he's here. But before we do that, I want you to take a look at this. See the nice design? It's only half of the story. I'm going to open it and I'm going to drink it. Great stuff. Specialized. They make what goes on here possible. So we thank you, Specialized. You try Specialized, and I think you'll agree with me. Dr. Opoku-Miracle.
Sir.
So we've spent the last few minutes telling us about yourself, your journey to become a doctor. Now you are a doctor, medical doctor. One day, somebody comes into 37. This person turns out to be Dr. Tilly Brackon, the wife of legendary musician Ben Brackon. Tell us what happened when the first day she walked in. Or shall I say she was brought in?
So I had a call that there's a doctor from the state who was at one hospital receiving treatment for COVID, and that she's not doing well, and she's not comfortable with the care there, and she's deteriorating. I felt heavy that she can't come and then die here. So I said, okay, discuss with my boss, Major Tupa. He's also very humble, doesn't get angry, in fact, down to earth person. He said, okay, Ben, receive her. That was the tone he used. Ben, receive her. I said, yes, sir. So she comes in an ambulance. She comes in an ambulance. I wore my PPEs, viewed her in the ambulance, and she was crying. Just
Why do you
crying.
think she was crying?
Well, later on I realized she was in pain and she was afraid she was going to die.
You said she was waving goodbye to...
So when they brought him off the ambulance, the husband was around. I didn't know him from anywhere. I've never seen him. So still tears rolling down, and she waved at the husband with a peg. But the expression on her face tells me that this woman feels she is going to die. And I said no. I said to myself, no, this woman will make it. So I
she said there was something special, something you told her.
Yes.
What specifically did
I
you
told
tell
her that, ma'am, those who walk in here run home, and those who are healed here walk home. It's those who come in unconscious that from time to time some may not make it, but she should be comfortable. I'm going to make sure that she goes home alive. And I think that was...
Do you know what that statement meant to her? At the time?
Know. I didn't know.
Okay.
I didn't know.
So then what happened?
So that's what I tell most of the patients. You have to encourage them because they listen to the news. 50 years and above, comorbidities, you are dying. So anybody 40 and above with probably diabetes or hypertension getting COVID knows that is the end. But I told her, no, it's not the end.
Okay. You also said that she was coming from one hospital where the service wasn't that great. Was it that influenced your professionalism, or that's how you treat every patient?
Everybody. In fact, all my patients have my telephone number.
Okay.
Night, anytime.
Okay.
I tell them, even on admission, all the patients have my number. If you have a problem, you are calling the center.
Is that normal procedure? Do other doctors do that?
I may have to confirm.
Okay.
But I give my number to all the patients because it's just a second. Something you can fix in a second can save somebody.
Okay.
And they have my number. Anytime they are in distress, they are in trouble, they call me.
Okay.
Sometimes you go in and you know that, it was good you gave your number out.
Yeah.
It was good.
Has there been a moment where giving your number out to a patient made a difference as to whether he or she lived or didn't?
Yes. Let me mention his name. Mr. Ralph Wayo. He had a pulse ox on his finger. So I told him, anytime there's a problem, call me. He goes to the washroom, saturation drop to 40. He calls me. Once he calls me, I don't even answer. I just quickly go in, dress, wear my PPE, and go and see him. And he was in distress. Keep him on the bed, give him oxygen, and he made it.
So if he didn't have your number, what do you think? We don't know. Wow. Okay. So
it's been very, very helpful. My number, giving my number to them, quite a number of people, several instances, that the number, I mean, having my number
Made a
helped.
difference.
Sometimes they have to call on behalf of one patient. Then the good thing I got from it is that when a patient calls you because of another one, it means they are better.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
So it's word of mouth type.
Yes.
Of thing.
So once they call you, oh, I've seen this patient doing that and that, and it was a way of getting response from other patients.
Okay.
So you see somebody struggling to get up, get off bed, and that one person will take the phone. Oh, doc, I see that patient struggling to get off the bed, and you know that she is better. Another calls you. I see the woman trying to get the water from the table.
Wow.
Then you know she's also better.
Wait,
so
time out. So, but this is not the type of thing you hear in Ghanaian hospitals.
you have to love human beings, and personally I love people. I'm the
Okay.
people person. I really don't want to see people going through the pain. I've gone through, I mean, my part of the pain, and I don't think people deserve to go through any pain.
Okay.
You have signed on to be a doctor. Whatever comes with it, I mean, you should.
Did the military background help?
It really.
Do you think there's a difference between the military training that you get and what it instills in you as a doctor versus regular doctors who do not have military training?
If not the military, I think I would have given up on a lot of things.
Okay.
Let me fast forward. The military officer training, my intake 55, we had a slogan, we never get tired. Tiredness is of the mind. Once the brain is tired, the body will be tired. Once the brain is not tired, the body is not tired.
Okay.
And strangely, almost a year, I mean, I've not gone on leave, no break, but I'm always up on my feet. Sometimes leaving the hospital around 4, 5, just go home, wash down, come back, and work still goes on. So
you take naps at work?
I mean, from 10 minutes is enough.
Okay.
Maximum 20 minutes, and I'm off.
Okay.
On my feet again. So the slogan at the COVID center is 24/7.
Okay.
And system is working. I mean, we all know about that.
Right.
Yeah. So
there's an article that said, got COVID, try 37, go to 37, avoid. Is there a special culture at 37 that we need to know about?
I wouldn't say they should avoid other places.
Well, that's why I didn't mention. For now,
Yes.
we're not mentioning that place. But that was the title, the headline of that
Yes.
story.
37 is doing wonders.
Okay.
37 is doing wonders. And I want to thank the head of department for internal medicine, Ken Okwabia. And then my immediate boss, Major Topa. Major Topa recommended me to Ken Okwabia. And she herself had seen, my diligence. And she called me and said, we are going to open up the ward.
Okay.
Would have you go there because we know you go down and down
And take
to
care.
go and handle with other people. I said, yes, ma'am.
All
In
right.
fact, I wanted to do ops and gynae, but
Okay.
she said no.
Okay.
If you even want to do ONG, go there first. I
Okay.
said, yes, ma'am.
All right. So let's go back to Dr. Tilly. After that initial contacts, what transpired? How did you move her from that state into the point where you released her?
Okay, so we wheeled him into the female ward, gave him a place, reassurance 1 minute after the other. We reassure her over and over and over again. Then we have this medicine that we mix and then give to people who come in pain. We've seen quite a number of them. Quite a number. And
Kind of medicine you care to go into?
they come
it?
with that pain, and then we give them and they get better.
Yeah, but you said the medicine that you mix.
Yes.
You care to go into that. What kind of medicine?
Oh, I
Or
think.
is it proprietary?
Oh, yeah. No, not so, but if we can hold it for now.
Okay,
It's not any strange thing, but
Okay.
we.
All right, no problem.
So I set it. In fact, I had discussed with one senior colleague who thought otherwise. But I violated that one and said, no, this has been working for us, so let me just go ahead. And I gave her and went back. Few minutes, I came back and said, ma'am, how are you feeling? No response. I said, okay, let me just step it up a little. Came back again, ma'am, how are you feeling? And she nodded the head. Then I know life is coming.
Very good.
Check her saturation again. All of a sudden, her saturation was just up like that. then I
Okay.
know we are making headways.
Okay.
So, few minutes, I ask her, how's the pain? I says, better. Once he verbalized, I knew we've won.
Okay. All right. So you were able to get her. She credits you for saving her life. Has she told you that?
Yes, she has.
Okay.
She
How does that make you feel?
Very good. What I want to see is people getting better. When they come in and you see them pack their luggages, walking home with families,
Yeah.
it's so
It's gold.
rewarding. So rewarding.
Okay. Since then, what has happened? What has transpired at 37?
So,
Since the story broke.
yes, I believe the authorities took note of it and they've stepped up the game. People are coming.
People with COVID.
People are coming because everybody wants to come to 37 because they've heard. And I mean, you have to believe what you hear and see. And once it's out there in the news, people are comfortable coming. Calls coming from other centers. Oh, my relative
That were
is,
not coming prior to the news breaking.
yes, my relatives is here. I want him or her to come to 37. And so, I mean, our spaces are getting congested.
Okay.
But I think my bosses are working hard to create more space for people who want to come.
What about you personally? How has that meant to you? Do people look at you differently, like your colleagues at work and things like that?
A lot have sent a goodwill message,
Okay.
reference that publication.
Okay.
And it's hard work. Everybody must be part. I can't do it alone.
Right.
And I don't work alone. I
Yeah.
mean, there are other doctors too, Class Peters, Captain Class Peters, Captain Rahman, Dr. Chefrimpong,
Okay.
and Flight Lieutenant Donko. Quite a number of them. Everybody is part of the team.
Okay.
It's not me.
Okay.
Because if they were not at the other side fixing, I can't be here
Of course.
working. So
I mean, like everything else. Look, in a soccer game, it takes 11 people working together. To win. But usually the attention is on the guy who scored the goal. But like you
yeah.
rightfully said, a lot of people play their role for the victory to occur. And so I personally, here at DNT, we're all about bringing international standards to Ghana. That's what we're about. When we talk about diaspora this, diaspora that, look, what is the difference? We go out there, we see how doctors and patients relate with each other. But for the most time, when you come back together, you don't see that. And so for someone like you who did not practice abroad, who did not train abroad, you trained completely here in Ghana. And to exhibit that level of professionalism, it's just mind-blowing. And I want you to know that whatever you got coming to you, you deserve every bit of it. And I want you to keep up the good work. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about COVID, the disease. But I think whatever it is that you got coming to you, you deserve that and more. Stay tuned and we'll be right back.
What's cool, fresh and trendy with a new look? Makes you feel real good, that refreshing vibe. Satisfies you right just the way you like. Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? Ain't gotta do it alone. Specialized makes you glow. Anytime, anywhere. Specialized, feel different. Always think specialized. Special Ice Natural Mineral Water. Feel different. Think special. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Hello and welcome back to Diaspora Weekly. My name is Jermaine Nkrumah, and I'm joined by Dr. Bernard Opoku-Miracle. Doctor, before we went on break, we were talking about Dr. Tilly and the experience there at 37. Now, this segment, we're going to talk about this monster called COVID-19. And there's a couple of videos that we came up with. I want you to look at the screen and talk to us. There are two videos. One shows the lung that is clean, and another one shows the lungs that's congested. I think this is the video of a lung that's congested, right? Contaminated. Okay, so tell us about this. What does this mean?
Okay, to start with, the COVID initially was that diagnosis was purely PCR. Once your PCR is positive, then you have COVID. But the reviews and discussions went on, and then they realized that a CT scan was diagnostic. You see the ground glass appearance on the CT scan, and it's suggestive of COVID. So my boss, Major Topa, was very skeptical and was very particular about that. So anytime you see those changes on the CT scan, you say, Bernard, let's treat as COVID. Sometimes I feel that, oh, why? PCR is negative. He said, treat as COVID. Okay. And that has been the success story.
At 37?
So, at 37.
This is significant because, see, we know when the COVID occurs, it's going to contaminate your lungs, right?
Yes.
So, have you seen instances where the COVID test was negative, but yet the lungs were contaminated?
Yes.
You've seen instances like.
So somebody came, SpO2, which we used to measure the oxygen level, was 85. The PCR she did was negative. You did a CT scan, and then you see those changes on the CT scan. And then my boss will say, Bernard, this can be nothing than COVID. So we were not really, the PCR is instructive. If it comes positive, there is no doubt.
Right.
But a lot of factors can also make it negative.
Negative.
So probably, during the swab, you didn't have the virus around the area you went, or by way of the sample being transported, you kept for too long a time, and you didn't get the virus and all that. So 37, the CT scan is key.
Okay.
And now once you test positive, you should have a CT scan. Okay. A gentleman came to me 3-4 days ago that he was not feeling well, went to see the doctor and was given malaria treatment. And I said, no, it's in the night. It was around 10 p.m. And I said, do a CT scan. He did a CT scan. It was like so much.
Producer, can you show us the clean lungs, what the clean lungs look like, so we can know the difference? See,
this appear like clean. So you see all white.
Yeah.
Those white patches you see there are blood vessels.
Okay.
And so clearly these
two lungs are very clean.
Very clean.
Okay. Now show us the other one. The other one that's that is called. You see.
Yeah. So you see there's those white patches.
Yes.
And this is quite extensive.
Okay.
Quite extensive. There might be other things happening in the lungs, but the key thing is that it looks more COVID. It
looks like, okay.
More COVID.
So you as a doctor who's been treating COVID patients, in what would you place your most trust? Would you place your trust in CT scan or PCR test?
Big question. I think I'll do both. One, my priority is on the CT scan, because now if you even test positive, I'd want to get a CT scan, because based on the CT scan, if there are damages in the lungs, the treatment will be different.
Okay.
If the scan is clean, then the treatment will take another form.
Okay.
So they go hand in hand.
Okay.
If PCR is negative, I still go ahead and do a CT scan. Then you pick something.
Yeah. So if I don't feel good and I start coughing, I'm showing some of the symptoms, what is the safest thing for me to do? Get a PCR test or get a CT
so
scan?
now you have friend doctors, you send them, I'm not feeling well, then they send you, go and buy this, go and buy that. I think we should stay away from that practice for now. Okay. So you need to see a doctor.
Okay.
And if the doctor don't request for a PCR or a CT scan for you, you need to tell the doctor. or go to a different hospital.
Okay. So the reason why I'm dwelling on this is because this COVID is, we don't know much about
Yeah,
it.
it's
What
crazy.
we do know is that by the time it becomes a problem, it has gotten into your lungs. Okay. And so what is the cost of a CT scan of the lung?
I think 37 is one of the cheapest
Okay.
center you can do a CT scan.
Okay.
And the radiologists, they are quite good. The radiographers are good. It runs 24/7.
And it costs how much?
400 cedis.
400.
So cheap.
And a PCR test.
So other centers have, I know of a 320, one at 37, 300 if you go to other centers. Some charge as high as 500, 600.
Okay.
And even 700.
700.
But on the average, if you are paying 300, 320,
I know you're not cleared or qualified to make this definite pronouncement, but the reason why this conversation is taking place is right now PCR tests versus CT scan tests. Okay, we know there is a lot of PCR tests. It's never 100%. And we know what people are doing. Some are saying, oh, they sell negative tests and whatnot. But at least PCR, what do you call it? The CT scan. It shows your lungs.
It's very instructive.
It shows it right there
Very
as
instructive.
being shown on the screen.
Very instructive.
So I think maybe you guys are onto something. Instead of taking PCR tests, take CT scan. Is that something that people should consider?
Oh, yes. So my boss really dwell much on the CT scan.
CT scan.
Yeah, it's very instructive.
And what's your success rate in terms of those who come in there with
very
COVID?
very successful.
You have numbers for us?
I can't give numbers, but I can quote more than 98% success.
Really?
Yes.
So 98% of COVID patients who come to 37. I
could even say more than 98%.
Who come to 37 would walk home?
They will have to go home.
Interesting.
Yes.
Is it because you guys are it's like you say your your boss has a motto, treat as COVID.
Treat as COVID. Once you see the CT scan, when I'm even thinking, no, sad, so I'll be telling them, sad, but this one, you can go and all that. And they say, Bernard, treat us. People come, show all kind of attitude. I want to go home, discharge me, blah, 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 fight with you. But they turn around and say, okay, I will stay. You have to be patient and take them.
Okay.
I mean, it's such a humble doctor. So treat as COVID, CT scan, suggestive, treat as COVID.
All right. So now the general healthcare delivery in Ghana, you've mostly worked at 37, so you can talk about 37. But we've also heard horror stories about other places that we're not going to mention. What do you think is the difference?
The difference about 37 is the discipline.
Okay.
Once you are trained as a military officer, you've been given presidential commission, you hold that responsibility, and you'll be held accountable for whatever you do. So, I mean, personally, that is me. I wouldn't want to mess up with anybody's life because.
But there's accountability at 37.
Yes, you are accountable. You may think nobody's watching. Commanding officer of the hospital calls me most of the time, how are you doing, Bernard? And I say, I'm fine. It commonly don't happen.
Yeah.
But for them to be checking up on you means that they really recognize what you are doing.
Okay.
Not just myself, but other centers. You see the commander going around almost all the time, checking things. He said you must be there physically. Then people will get to work.
Okay.
So the military will train you in a way to be on your feet.
Okay, so then the question is, are there military-trained medical doctors
Yes.
who work in other hospitals?
No.
Not necessarily 30.
No.
So the military-trained do not send their...
So military-trained, you
so
work
what
at
will happen if you say you're quitting right now, you're going to work at, say, Kwalabu or any other place? Would they allow you?
If you want to resign, it should be on good grounds, which I really don't think I'm in a position to.
I know.
They have trained me and all that, so you need to.
But what I'm trying to say is when you hear the lackadaisical attitude of doctors and, you know, in other places, but you're saying that the military training is what keeps you guys on your toes at 37. In your view, how do we get that same type of training and mindset to other hospitals so that healthcare delivery will be better?
So like we are doing now, it's a message to and a wake-up call to all of us.
Okay.
So people will hear and say that, oh, okay, then I have to change my way of doing things. And then again, people can come on attachment based on recommendations. If it's recommended, you pass through 37 for some time, and then you pick the culture. And I think we need to also compare notes, have sort of, quarterly meetings, discussions, what I did right, what I didn't do well, and all that, what I have been doing. So if I hear others talk about what they have been doing, then I'll be encouraged to do same. So I think we should encourage others too.
Okay.
Then again, we have different level of strength. Somebody will be able to do about 6 hours, somebody 12 hours, somebody 24 hours, somebody 2 hours. So we need to hold each other, encourage each other to work hard.
On the morning show today, your take with the Alsechi,
yes,
you were surprised by something. What happened?
The oxygen cylinder. I least expected that I have such a package.
Okay.
For my hospital.
Okay.
And it's like winning a big prize for the
good.
hospital. So
That's
it's
good.
It's a good name for the myself and the hospital at large, and all the.
So how does it feel that because of you exhibiting professionalism, now there is this delivery this donation that's been made to your facility, and from what I'm hearing from a doctor, and I guess my mouth, I shouldn't open my big mouth, but it looks like more is coming. So how does that make you feel?
You feel good. Let me say this: when I was a little boy, long ago, I was walking out there and then I saw money on the floor. It was those times 120 cedis, those old 100 cedis note and then 20 cedi note, long ago. Then I sent it home. That day I was the king. Everybody was happy because my auntie could go to the market, buy the best fish and the meat, prepare the good soup and all that. What I want to add is that if people are donating to the hospital, we are not going to buy food, meat and all that and eat. By people who cannot buy medicine, people who need support financially, whatever they need, CT scan, if you need, we do for you. And all that is going to help Ghanaians, not individuals. Nobody's going to, misappropriate any fund. It's going to go a long way to help.
Okay. So in our final minutes before we close this up, we live in a country where you go to somebody's office, you need him to sign your paper, you have to give a little something. Everybody is looking for a little something before they do the job that they are paid to do. From what I hear from you, there's no such culture in 37. And we don't even know if there's any such culture in other hospitals. But what's your message to young doctors such as yourself, who may not have had the military training, who went through normal medical school, and they are working in hospitals with a different type of culture? What would you tell them? Look in that camera. And
so, when Brigadier Ponyo was retired, the department held a send-off party for him. Then he gave a message that one of the days he was in the consulting room, an old man, when he had finished the clinic, he saw an old man sitting there and said, what are you doing here? So I'm coming to the clinic, and it's almost 6. Wow. So he took him in and then examined and then gave him medicine for the old man to go. Another time he was coming, he came with a crate of eggs to the doctor. I said, I don't need it. I'm working, I'm supposed to even buy for you. He said, no, my son, take it. He took it. Several years, the man didn't come. One day he was in the clinic, the man came again, then gave him an envelope. He opened it and it was like 2,000 pounds. I'm quoting his words. And he said, what do you mean? I am supposed to work as a young man and take care of you, the old one. He said, my son, this is for you. Take it. It's from my heart. Take it. he felt like, oh, this old guys who just want to show off just an ordinary check. He sent it to UK and the check went through. And he never saw the man again.
Look at that.
Somebody sold him Pajero, very cheap. And he said at the end that cast thy bread onto the waters, and many, many, many years later, ye shall find it. Sometimes people may show appreciation some way, somehow, based on what you've done for them. But to say, give me money before I work for you, never. And it doesn't happen anywhere in
And that money is not coming from the heart.
I mean, you are pushing the person because they are in distress.
Yeah.
So for me, I work. When I'm setting off from the house, I tell myself I'm going for 24 hours duty. And I must say thank you to my wife because she's been very supportive. Mary Amichester has been very supportive. All this while, I'm not home, I don't come home. She calls me, I don't answer. She calls again, I'm talking to somebody. She go on WhatsApp, I'm chatting with people, and I don't answer her calls. She's been so patient and very supportive.
Well, I tell you what, thank you for being a professional.
You're welcome, sir.
And in ending, you said what? Cast thy bread. Okay?
Onto the waters.
When you ask somebody, do this for me before I sign the paper. Maybe you ask for 100 cedis. Yes, maybe you ask for 100 cedis and the person will pay. And you think you're making good money, demanding bribe to do your work. But what you don't know is that if you did your job with an open heart, it's nothing unusual for someone to pop out of the blue with 2,000 pounds. How many 100 cedi bribes would you collect to get to 2,000 pounds?
Several.
And that's what people don't realize, that you do your job. Ghanaians, we have a very appreciative mentality. There are people who, and there's nothing wrong with somebody bringing you a goat or something to thank you for what you did. But this method, this habit of demanding before you do your work, you don't know what you're missing. Because if I had it in mind to give you 2,000 pounds, but you demanded 100 cedis, yes, I'll pay you that 100 cedis. You sign my paper, I'm gone. You will never see the remainder. That is what the mentality that we should have as Ghanaians.
Yeah.
And so as we end this special edition of Diaspora Weekly, where for the first time we interviewed a doctor who was not trained, who has not lived in the diaspora, but he has exhibited the professionalism that we stand for. So on behalf of my crew, I want to thank you again and thank you for watching. This has been a special edition of Diaspora Weekly. My name is Jermaine Nkrumah.
Before near Grosha, near Bio, Yama politics, and tell me any atio, there's a bomb to push your hair, near Bio. Summer, Yenye Bribi, my Injirima, Machiramo Dada, Kojo Kanchime on Hineba, Yamri Emojeni, and yes, Kwame Kruma, yes, I had your Tambemua, Eddie Asembeba. We need peace, no ratatata. Solve the beef with your brother, da. Never kill each other, da. Judgment day, face, ja. We got to look, remember this. Seven love job, work hard and make money. And all you tell you get to look, make pounds solid. Rascal, kuna fa, we say be a message.